Good morning to all the participants who have joined in this webinar for today's webinar. My friends of today's webinar, I am pleased to welcome you all to this webinar on rehabilitation professional self-care during pandemic. This is a part of a web series from the Department of Clinical Psychology, CRC Sikkim. It aims at providing key inputs on various aspects of mental health. In this virtual conference, I recognize some familiar names of participants from government, the private NGOs. I am sure we are also reaching out to many students, friends, practitioners, civil society representatives. A warm welcome to all of you. Now I request Mr. Vidya Bhushan sir, our lecturer in physiotherapy, to continue the formal webinar proceedings.
Good morning to all. Myself, Vidya Bhushan, lecturer physiotherapy, has assigned me to welcome you all on behalf of CRC Sikkim and NIEP VD Dehradun. In the welcome address, first of all, I would like to extend my warm welcome to our Honorable Director, Sir, Dr. Himangsu Das, Sir. He is a former director of NIEP MD Chennai and NIEP ID Hyderabad, and he is now currently a director of NIEP VD Dehradun. Due to his constant effort and support, we are going to organize such a program in a continuous manner. His contribution in the field of disability is also very remarkable. We CRC team welcome you, sir, in this program. In continuation to my welcome address, now I would like to welcome Dr. Ravindra Valibhara, sir, who needs no introduction in the field of psychology. Now he is a director of Mancraft Assessment Private Limited. Dr. Ravindra sir is a master trainer and consultant as a clinical and behavioral therapist in the corporate NGO health sector. He has pursued his doctoral research in counseling, need of corporate sector, workforce, and also an MPhil in the rehabilitation psychology. He is a trained cognitive behavioral therapy in sexual dysfunction from National Institute of Mental Health and Neuroscience, NIMHANS, Bangalore. In addition, also gained expertise in parental counseling, developmental disability, psychopharmacology, LD remediation, behavioral modification, life skill training, marital counseling, personality assessment, educational and occupational testing. As director of Mancraft Wellness and his association with the ICAS India and LRC assessment for over a decade, he has been delivered services in the various sectors as psychometrician, design tailor-made assessment, as a counselor implementing employee assistance program, and as a behavioral psychologist conducting intervention and training. He has also provided technical assistance to government of Andhra Pradesh SADAREM for their disability certification module. So, at least welcome to you, sir, as a resource person in this program. And I now also welcome our resident coordinator, CRC Sikkim, Ms. Morenken Aris, madam. You are also welcome in this program, ma'am. In the welcoming sessions, I would also like to welcome our participants who is currently joined the program and participated in this program. I hope that this program will be surely benefited to the professionals who are directly or indirectly related to the treating the persons, serving the persons of COVID-19. In the such situations, due to the disastrous condition, several rehabilitation professionals get infected with the COVID-19. So it is a very practical based topic, and now today our resource person Ravindra Valibhara sir will give the focus how a professional can save his life during the treatment of the COVID-19 people. So I welcome you all in this platform. Thank you sir for joining the program. And now I am requesting to Dr. Pinai Rajani madam to please continue the further program. आज के इस प्रोग्राम में अभी जानकारी मिली है कि सर का अर्जेंट एंगेजमेंट होने के कारण आज के प्रोग्राम में सर का वेलकम जो शुभाशीष हम लोग को आशीर्वाद के रूप में मिलने वाली थी, जिसके कारण सर के उत्साहित वचनों के कारण ही हम लोग इस तरह के कार्यक्रम को करते हैं। सर आज नहीं जुड़ पा रहे हैं, के लिए सॉरी, एंड सर का आशीर्वाद हम लोग के साथ है। तो नाउ अब मैं रजनी मैडम से रिक्वेस्ट करता हूं कि मैम आगे के कार्यक्रम को बढ़ाएं और हमारे रिसोर्स पर्सन को वेलकम करें, वो ताकि वो प्रोग्राम को कंटिन्यू कर सकें। मैडम प्लीज।
Sir, thank you for inviting me, and I would like to request Dr. Ravindra Balivara sir to formally start his webinar today, and I request all the participants to stay till the end of the webinar so that you are being here and trying to give any kind of questions and answers are going to be answered. Any questions you can put up in the chat box, and we can take it after the webinar is completed by the resource person, and I take it over to Dr. Ravindra sir. Absolutely.
What I'll do is, instead of showing my face, I'll show the PPT, and let's focus on the PPT. And I see that we have 55 participants as of now. Maybe for next 2-3 minutes, we'll wait and see if we can have more. And I request the participants to put their questions in the chat box so that when we are ending this session, Dr. Rajni can actually ask those questions in place of you. And second is, you will also have one more option of asking directly if we have sufficient time, because Dr. Rajni can club 2-3 similar kind of questions and she can put forward. So in addition to what the program coordinators have introduced about me, I'd like to share a bit about myself and my work experience, and why they felt that I should be presenting this topic. Incidentally, I am a professional who has been doing home-based psychology service for the past 15 years. Only since COVID, since past 15 months, people are doing home-based work. I have been doing home-based work since past 15 years. So working from home, I have seen most of the things which people right now are experiencing. Communication difficulties, difficulties in managing things, and taking care of yourself while you are not interacting with people, and trying to convey your message in a medium where emotions are not easily expressed. As part of it, I am trying to bring forward some experiences of my past 15 years into this presentation. And what I want is, don't focus on the slides, they are just for reference. I want you to freely observe the information which is available, and in case you have any queries, please make a note of it, and hopefully by the end of it, you will come to know what is a working model through which you can take self-care of yourself. I'm trying to share my entire screen, and Dr. Rajni, please help me to understand if my screen is available to you.
Yes, sir.
So during pandemic, what happens is, general population have been having safeguards with several precautionary measures, including shutdown, slowdown in daily activities, social distancing, reduction in interaction between people. All these things general population has been able to follow. Wearing face masks, having good ventilation to reduce possibility of new infection. All these things general public is following. But unfortunately, service providers, be it medical profile people, be it sanitation workers, be it rehabilitation professionals, we are forced to work at the forefront. And what happens is, due to the ongoing situation, I have seen plenty of my co-colleagues getting struck because of the change in technology, and they are feeling more stressed than the clients trying to deliver services. And rehabilitation professionals mostly are feeling either loneliness. If they are feeling anxious, they are not able to share. There is a perception of stigma. There are some rigid expectations through which they have to conduct themselves. And it is leading to many people festering from within. In the past 1 year, I have had many rehabilitation professionals with 5 years, 10 years, 15 years of work experience trying to reach out and saying, this work is too tough, sir. I don't think I can pull through. I think I should be looking for something else. Can I work like you in freelance? And unfortunately, freelance is not so rosy. It also has its own challenges and difficulties. So what is happening is, initially for the 1 month or 2 months, when the activity was a bit relaxed, people were enjoying it. But once they had to adapt and keep pushing at the same results that they are having to do, they are feeling challenged. They are feeling pressured. And this is when slowly the stress feeling, if undiagnosed, slowly leads to burnout, slowly leads to dissatisfaction. And we are trying to understand through this presentation. It will be an informative presentation. It is somewhat like my life experience, how I figured out I'm not 100% expert on how to do self-care, but I am trying to share with you self-care strategies which work for me and which I share with people when they reach out to me during these stages. So I was just trying to understand, what does self-care mean to you? Throughout the last 1 year, what has happened is we have had various mental health platforms, including our ministry, trying to bring out urgent intervention measures. NIMHANS has launched something. They have launched a compendium of books, out of which how to do self-care for other people was there, how to take care of your patients, how to take care of general population, all these things were there. Then Kiran helpline was launched for the disabled. So rehabilitation professionals were taught and they are actively engaged in providing service to people through that medium and mode. This very recently, last 2-3 months back, they launched something on similar lines and they are trying to promote it. Unfortunately, what is happening is everybody is trying to help the end client, but the service provider, how to take self-care, that is not very clearly understood and that is not very clearly established, either in the Kiran manual, nor in the NIMHANS manual, nor in the TIS manual. And what happens is, we are in a profession which is broadly designed as a profile where you are supposed to take care. You are the tool. You are the service provider. More than the skill that you are bringing, you are the service provider. You are the front end. And if you are not able to take care of yourself, there are many repercussions which happen. So some studies like this have been conducted last year, the prevalence of stress, anxiety, and depression to frontline health workers. You see, it will be either health workers or generic population, but very few studies have been conducted on disability service providers. So what could be the occupational hazards of a rehabilitation professional that we might face? There is the inbuilt component of stress in our role. What we are doing is we are taking the client's stress, we are trying to resolve it, and we are trying to pacify them. Doing that in person was a challenge. Now we have to do it virtually. There are demands and there is importance for clinical and professional responsibility, which means although you can use technology, you cannot lower your standards. And there is a challenge in managing intimate relationship with the client when they are not able to see. I see plenty of my young clients. The parent says, sir, not behaving properly, would you like to talk? In person, I was able to manage very properly, but on telephone or on video call, it is very difficult for them to actually see the emotion being expressed by the therapist, and it is very difficult to manage the client. So sometimes it leads to frustration even for me, but you will have to work through that. General characteristic of a rehabilitation professional is prone to burnout. We are responsible for people, we are responsible for things. We have very limited control over the outcomes. Unlike mental illness, disability is a component which is a lifelong process. So the outcomes are very limited and very gradual. And due to current technological challenges and physical distance that we have to mention, it is becoming more difficult to bring or help people notice that change. Compared to normal people, the disability sector is also limited with resources. And our kind of change requires high level of involvement. Unlike other webinars which technically people do, where somebody can record and do that, our service is such that we have to get involved with the client. So this is also a challenge which causes people to see that I am putting effort, but I am not getting the result. So this might cause a bit of stress, and if unchecked, might lead. And there is an interplay between personal stresses and the demands of work, because whoever is reporting to somebody, whoever is in a JOB role, their challenges, they have to live up to the verticals. Earlier, they used to do physical trainings where people used to come and they had a standard PPT and standard role play exercises and all that they could do for 2-day, 3-day events. Right now, that is not feasible. So even their roles have been changed. They have to do 2 days of virtual activity. They have to meet X number of clients because everybody is under the pump at this moment. It is very difficult to manage those stresses. And what is happening is there are new standards appearing as and when time passes. There is very limited engagement of people and therapeutic protocols have severely increased. And what is happening is trying to meet up to that, half of the time is trying to just update. And if you are somebody who's practicing by yourself, the challenges are twofold. One, you cannot meet the client in person. Second, you still have to cover your rents. Third, build on the infrastructure. If somebody is working in a JOB role, at least their organization takes care. In your case, you have to take care. That itself is a second aspect of stress. So who is vulnerable for occupational stress or burnout in rehabilitation? Everybody. Because there is a constant interaction between the events in personal and professional life. Nothing is like I can leave office at home. Right now, office is at home for most people. So demarcating it is very difficult. The only thing they might have is a room where they can work separately, but office is in home. So trying to identify how to separate them is also a challenge. And what happens is this new paradigm creates stress. It leads to distress, which is helplessness. And if this helplessness continues, it can lead to impairment, which means we may not function. In disability, we have this concept: impairment, disability, discomfort, all these things. So it could lead to impairment of function for the professional. If untreated, this will lead to burnout or other maladaptive coping skills. What can be those maladaptive coping skills? We will discuss further. What occupational hazards do rehabilitation professionals face? As earlier I spoke, our general role is prone to stress. Demands and importance of clinical professional responsibility is very high. And what increases our vulnerability to occupational stress? This we have to find out. See, what is happening is even while using technology on a regular basis, I am also fumbling for keys somewhere. So stress is part of my presentation as well. So how do I cope up in this stress? Maybe you can monitor. And this is a good measure of understanding stress in people. When you feel it, mostly you are numb to that experience. And when you observe other people, most probably you will be able to notice. So if you notice somebody is facing some challenge, please share with them certain checklists that I will be sharing in due course. And also maybe politely engage with them to seek some amount of professional help or do some amount of self-care. Some exercises also we'll talk in this. So what causes vulnerability for a person to have occupational stress? For a rehabilitation professional, practically it is professional isolation. In my case, at least, I am home since not now 15 years. Isolated, in and around there will not be any people. Even if I am working in an organization, I will be working with 5-6 people. In and around, I don't have anybody to engage. So what I work and where I stay, I won't find similar kind of people nearby. That is there. Second is either if you are working by yourself, irregular clinical case consultation might happen, which means due to this COVID protocols, people might not be meeting you, so your income is falling. Or sometimes consultation has improved. Or JOB sector, some people who are doing that manning say, sir, we are flooded with calls night, don't get rest. Have to work and be inadequate professional support. That is challenging. And I strongly believe which leads stresses poor self. When I started self 15 years back, I realized my prominent importance if I am doing well for people. So for that, I needed what kind of income I needed, which kind of place what kind of clients I wanted to work with. I had to design. Maybe by the end of this presentation, talk about it. Maybe for you, we can identify people there is overwork. Laws have been very hectic. I have been not only on government platforms. So what has happened getting right now clients from US and UK West, because over there, if you want psychological counseling and therapy, there is a big wait months and it is a premium service. In case Indian disapproval cannot wait, have restlessness, they want to get it solved. And when they try to reach out to India, so I was just covering professional isolation. I think I have shared when you are working for yourself and when you're working for somebody, how professional isolation may affect. Inadequate consultation is when you have less amount of work and more amount of time. Right now, that is a killer. If you don't have work, that is burdensome. And if you have too much work and you don't have anybody to share with, that too is a challenging experience. I have worked with organizations where they do virtual tea party, where people come with tea in the evening and only on tea for half an hour they joke with each other. They give that names Baitak or Chit Chat or Guldasta or something, and they try to connect some way where they can leisurely try to release their tension. So in disability sector, are we doing this? I'm not very sure. I am a independent contractor, so I have to engage myself that way. And there is a paucity of leisure activities and non-work activities because movements are restricted nowadays. So we need to also focus on identifying, can we overcome this? These are all vulnerability points. These are not end lines. these are through which we have to go ahead. And what increases our vulnerability? Some more issues could be when you are stressed, it is very difficult to share with somebody. Most disability professionals that I have met, I have constantly been meeting rehabilitation psychologists and special educators who claim once they finish their degree that I can solve people's problem. And then they say, sir, mere ko naukri kidhar milega? So you have an education where you claim that you can solve people's problem, but when it comes to your own problem, you are challenged. And when you feel stressed, you say, I can solve family counseling kar sakta hai main, I can do student counseling, I can do marriage counseling, I can do parent counseling, all counseling I can do. But when I have a problem, whom do I counsel with? So there is a stigma attached with people that you are helping somebody else, but you are not able to help yourself. So they stop reaching out for help. Because of this stigma also, many people are festering from within. A few people who are reach out to me, I do share my insights and do try to help them de-stress, but it is far and few between. And there is a very big unrealistic expectation when it comes to our field. People think that we are not emotional. आपको क्या है? आपको तो training मिला हुआ है. This is a general line that people use. You know how to manage pain. We help people dissipate pain, but we also feel pain. And this is something people are not ready to accept because they have put label on us. We start feeling that हमको pain feel नहीं करना है, pain आएगा तो बताना भी नहीं. But you will have to reach out. You will have to dissipate that stress, anger, emotion, whatever it is. There is a tendency to focus on others' need. Our profession is such that most people come into this line saying that I want to serve society. So serving the society, you could be a politician, you could be a social worker, but you chose a field of rehabilitation therapy or rehabilitation as a professional. You started and then you are trying to make a living out of it. What happens is, while doing this, you try to put the other person in front, neglecting your own problems, because clients' problems are very genuine and they are very, for an extended period of time, we need to empathize with them, but we also need to be very realistic with respect to how it affects us. What is our distress mechanism? For most people, it is not there. And the boundaries between where we can work and where we can relax are very, very thin. Right now we are not traveling, but if we were traveling to some place or we were eating a burger at some point and we just talk about, please come for tomorrow's therapy, somebody listens to on the side, he says, sir, are you a psychologist? Are you a special educator? I have a problem of a cousin, can you tell? So mostly what happens is we are always on continuous work mode. Although we don't want to, but we are engaged either due to innate nature to help or people reaching out to us saying that I have not seen anybody who can talk on this, why don't you help? So our boundaries of work are very, very thin, and there is a constant imbalance between the kind of work we get and the kind of responsibilities we do. Till 2 years back, it was, I have a lot of caseload. Today, caseload is less. I have a lot of documentation to do. I have to do a presentation. I have to take care of technical challenges. Dr. Rajni, till last year or last to last year, she was only focused on doing client therapy. Today she is on, sir, your voice is not coming. This is the added responsibility. As a clinical psychologist, she did not learn. But now this is also there. So what are potential consequences of ignoring this occupational stress? How can it be hazardous? It could damage your profile as a rehabilitation professional. It could damage the client. It could damage the profession as a whole. As a personal level, it could lead you to stress, which could lead you to become gloomy, depressed. I have seen many of people who say, sir, I was depressed yesterday, I was depressed day before yesterday. Unfortunately, you cannot be depressed in 1 or 2 occasions. Depression is a long extended period of time. How to identify whether you are depressed or not? We will talk about some self-assessment scales later on that will help us identify. Then when you are not able to focus on identifying this stress, what happens is there is professional and social isolation. I have seen in many professional bodies where one professional is not ready to talk to other person. Both are excellent in their profile, but when they have to work together, they have clashes because each is stressed at their own level and they have not learned how to reach out to each other or ask for help. They say small job, big ego, big job, too much ego. So in psychology, what happens in rehabilitation professionals, we think that we constantly help, asking for help becomes difficult. So professionally, you might be if you feel like that. Dissatisfaction sets in. For some people, evening hote hi, they need to open something, a bottle. For some people, they smoke. I know of two people who are in rehabilitation profession. One committed suicide and one attempted suicide. And I constantly get people who are so severely stressed that they feel helpless and the ropes try to reach, what should I do now? So sometimes I have to talk them back from the ledge. Another important effect, it happens if you don't focus on stress, not just for normal profiles. Normal profiles we are seeing now, people who are in IT sector, people who are in banking sector. If they are stressed, they try to bring it home. And now since office is home, so instead of waiting from 9 to 5, it is happening from 9 conflict at home. So relationship conflict happening. In our profile, we are more disturbed because of client's issue. It is constant stress we are dealing. And if we are not able to manage that, it takes a toll on the relationship as well. Sometimes shortcuts, people take shortcuts. They are so stressed. They say, I cannot do the entire filling up form. I will see and I will do that. So somewhere these kind of things will also happen. And when you are not able to identify stress, what happens is you reach out and the ethical boundaries between you and how the client should deal might change. Sometimes since you are not able to deliver service properly, symptoms increase. Or the client feels, I am not being benefited, I am being taken advantage of. Sometimes they lose hope on the entire service system itself. They say, idhar jaake koi fayda nahi hai, sab log ghuma rahe. And why? Because the professional was not able to handle stress on that day when the client came. That is why you are the weapon in your arsenal. Your mind is the weapon in the service. We, unlike doctors who use stethoscope, surgical instruments and all, we use our mind to help people. So our mind needs to be always in ship shape and we need to identify whenever it is not going well. Some other occupational hazards is damage to the profession. On the whole, there is loss of credibility to the institute. I have come across one to ABC Institute. They did not do well. They were only behind me and they did not listen to me even for 10 minutes. And when I reach known friend, they say on that day I should home, I was not able to pay attention to the client. Their intention might not, but if they are able to manage their professional life, client does pick up on it. And one satisfied client will talk 5, one dissatisfied client will talk to 20. So you need to identify. Some cases there are legal lawsuits are filed against them. Anything you do now, a living generation where everything is on. So if very careful, somebody will record something, somebody will post it somewhere. So you need to be always on high alert. You need to be working as if always somebody is trying to watch you. More important, you need how to watch signs of it. What are some signs of occupational stress for rehabilitation professionals? As some of mentioned, I am not enjoying my work. Very recently, I got somebody who said, I am very dissatisfied at the place that I am working. I am trying to relocate. I have already given interviews. I will put my papers. So which means that person is not trying to leave that profession. That person is trying to leave that profile where that person is working. So that profile is full. Will that stress go away in a new job? Most probably not. It will come in a new shape. If you have not to manage stress there, at a different place also it will be difficult for you. So this is something we will have to ask. And I'll maybe if time permits, we will talk about how to find pleasure in your work. One more symptom could be loss of appetite, loss of sleep, lethargy, not having mood to work. These are typical symptoms of depression, but depression is a long-term consequence. We are very lightly using depression nowadays. So we identify whether it is depression or gloominess of one day, inability to focus, which means you are committing silly mistakes. Sometimes something you need to do, you keep forgetting. For a couple of my clients, I have noticed this, who are professionals, that before going for office, they are stressed. If I reach 5 minutes, if I am not able to do this, it will have a negative effect. Anxiety is two-pronged. Either there is fear for future or rumination and guilt for past. Both cause anxiety. So 3 days back, I did this something. How is it going to affect me? 3 days from now, I have an inspection. How is it going to affect me? And both could cause stress. And stress by itself is not bad. It can help you become better. If you are not stressed, if I was not stressed, I would have not prepared for this. But if I am so stressed that although I have information, I am able to talk, that is becoming distress. So stress is essential. Manageable stress is what makes us more productive. So whenever it is going beyond that, that's what we have to identify. Many people do clinical errors. IQ range, CA by SA or SA by CA. 73.6 or 7.36 IQ. I have seen people writing reports borderline to below average. So all these small errors happen when you are stressed. Avoid meeting people. People want to meet at the end of the day just to catch up, but this does not happen. And many a times this so happens that we are dealing with clients' emotions. They are very, very vivid and graphic in description. And if we are too much stressed, we lose reality with our life and their life gets on to us. Their trauma becomes our. Instead of so imagery of clients' traumatic experience and whatever they shared starts living with us. If you are noticing this, please reach out for help. And generally increase cynicism. बहुत चिड़े हो जाते हैं लोग. And they say, यहाँ पर काम करके कोई फायदा नहीं है सर. कुछ नहीं मिलने वाला है. अगर कुछ नहीं मिलने वाला था तो शुरू क्यों किया कामयाब? There was an expectation that job is going to take me somewhere. And right now, if you are feeling that way, there are two reasons. Either you are not able to find a way up or you are not able to see a way up. Both are limitations in your sight. So we have to overcome that. So what happens is with their spouses, mostly people do not like to talk. They might withdraw or they might over-engage and overdo this. If this is happening in your life, please reach out for help. Suicidal thoughts. I have also seen at some place they have self-harm thoughts. Self-harm thoughts means self-harm actions. Because suicide is one attempt. Self-harm is every day you can do. So some people have used alcohol as a self-harm mechanism. Some people have used trying to bite their nails. Some people have tried to cut themselves. These are all ways through which, or some people are trying to punch the walls also. Different ways through which they are trying to manage their stress. How can we protect ourselves? All the symptoms that we spoke, please consider them as early warning signs. Whenever there is a cyclone, there is early warning system. Affect us, we don't know, but there is a likelihood. How can we protect ourselves? So whenever we are noticing these symptoms, I will also be sharing some checklists to you. Maybe you can go through them. So identify them and try to develop as many, reach out to your people, your batchmates, your old people. Just try to say hi and all that. And what happens is, out of that, maybe with somebody you are comfortable, you can share out. Reach out to people who are placed above you. Somebody that whom you, admire for their knowledge. In my profile, what I see is a lot of juniors reach out to me, and I also reach out to some people whose professional practice I value. So during that case, I keep sharing my personal insecurities also, and they help me out that 20 years back, I saw this, I handled it this way. So whatever you are feeling right now, somebody would have already felt. Whatever you are trying to deal right now, somebody would have already dealt. You just have to reach out and find who can help me with this problem. You need to identify a balance between work life. How much you should work, how much you should relax. What I realized is I can take up only 5 active cases a month. And with those 5 active cases, I can make a pretty decent income where I can cover 3 of my center's rent and also have a very comfortable lifestyle. For some people, they might need to, who are working in a possible. So in their case, they have to decide after 9 to 5, what do I do? Do I still take up more work? Do I still take up part-time cases? Do I say that no, from 5 to 9 is my personal time. This is for my personal growth. This is for me to de-stress. And when somebody talks as professional with you and they say that, usko kya problem hai sir? Don't join them in belittling that person, because tomorrow when you have problem, you will not be able to reach out, because it will always be behind your head that last time I made fun of somebody. Today, if I reach out, somebody will make fun of me. Try to destigmatize professional stress. सबको कुछ ना कुछ कभी ना कभी problem रहेगा. So if somebody has problem, encourage them to reach out, so that when you have problem, somebody will encourage you to reach out. Whatever you want for yourself, first you have to give out to people outside. You want love, give love. You want respect, give respect. You want admiration, give admiration. You want ridicule, give ridicule. It will come back to you. So put out in the world what you want. and keep updating your knowledge. One good thing which has happened because of COVID is we are having many seminars and information sharing workshops. So anybody who wants to do something can attend a workshop. Every day ministry is through various agencies is organizing some or other workshop. Every day at least 2 workshops are happening. So somebody wants to update, you can. And you need to become more familiar with occupational risk for specifically psychologists and rehabilitation professionals. In my profile, I have identified what kind of things are there, but in your case, you will have to find out what a special educator might be struggling with. I have somebody who works with 3 international schools in Hyderabad, and she says, sir, teaching remedial instruction to students in normal days was a headache. Now it is beyond our capacity because schools are charging fees. Parents are saying we are not seeing change, and ultimately it is coming to us to deliver that service. So earlier we used to spend 2 hours with a kid. Now we are spending 6 hours with a kid. It is taking a toll on us, and our salary has become half. So for special educators, that kind of issue was there. So I had to help them identify how they can relax, de-stress, and what can be new educational goals for them. Take regular vacations. Now it might not be possible, but in your own way, what vacation can you take? Now the things have relaxed a bit. What we do is we have a nearby point where me and my spouse go spend some time. Otherwise, our terrace is our vacation spot. We take our food there, spend 2 hours there, watch a movie there in the evening and come back. So these are ways through which you can negate the stresses. But overall, before this happens, you can do something else also. It is called self-care. And what is self-care? Self-care, these are all dictionary definitions or researchers' definitions. It is the ability to refill and refuel oneself in healthy ways. Beautiful. Refill and refuel is self-care. Engagement in behaviors that maintain and promote physical and emotional well-being. Self-care is an activity which lessens the amount of stress, anxiety, and emotional reaction experienced when working with clients. And this is a very workable definition I want you to identify. Self-care is a process which will lessen the amount of stress, anxiety, and emotional reaction experienced while working with clients. And ultimately, you will get satisfaction, get money, get paid, get rewarded only when you work with clients. And for that, how self-care can be beneficial, you will have to figure out. One more definition which I was able to collect is being caring towards oneself. And this for rehabilitation professionals might feel like a bit, very self-centered approach. But self-care is exactly that, being caring towards oneself so that you can take care of others. Broadly, self-care involves these 4 steps. One is self-reflection, what is happening, what do I need, knowing one's need, and making a conscious effort to seek out services that will help me become better and foster wellness. 4th step is identifying that self-care is mandatory in my profession because I am dealing with people's wellness. If you say a hospital person should sanitize their hands because they are dealing with illness, you should sanitize your mind because you are dealing with wellness. If you say that a restaurant person should wear gloves and do that, they should wear mask and cook food, then you need to take care of your emotional and self-care so that you are able to take care, because you are serving ideas to people. So unless your mind is filtered, mind is clear, what you are sharing will be polluted with your negative thoughts and emotions. These are some of the self-assessments which are freely available. You as a professional, I believe mostly professionals are there in this. So as a professional advice, this is just for having a awareness. This is not classification. If you see some of these symptoms, maybe reach out to a professional who can help. So one is state rate anxiety inventory. It is an inventory of 20 items which are easy to rate. It is on 4-point Likert scale, ranging from not at all to somewhat to moderate and very much so, whether you are facing anxiety or not. So questions may be, I am tense, not at all, somewhat, moderately, very much. I am worried, not at all, somewhat, moderately, very much, this kind. And based on those 20 questions, the cutoff is 40. If you score more than 40, you have some amount of anxiety. Try to see whether you can solve by yourself or reach a professional. Psychological distress scale, which is DAS called, it is available in 21 and 42 point scales. So it is also a very simple scale where the emotion is ranging from very less 1 to 5 kind of scale. So for anxiety, it may say, I am feeling a bit restless and I might panic very much, often, never, regularly. For depression, it might have questions something like, I felt that I had nothing to look forward. If you feel like that in your job, maybe you are feeling those depressive symptoms. Not just one statement, there will be 20 statements. Aggregate of those 20 statements will determine whether you are feeling like that or not. Then there is something called post-traumatic symptoms or impact of event scale. So this is a self-report questionnaire assessing psychological distress in response to a traumatic event. What could be that traumatic event? Somebody in your family or in your vicinity has some serious issue or death that has disturbed you, or one of your client has faced that and that has disturbed you. This scale has 3 subscales representing a cluster of post-traumatic stresses. One could be intrusion, which means it is affecting me. Second is, I don't like going there, avoidance, or I don't want to think about that. Or hyperarousal, which means whenever I am passing through that place or whenever I'm meeting with that client, I am getting overstressed. So after the event has happened, this is what is your reaction. And if this is happening, you will not be an efficient professional. So you can use that. Then there is something called burnout inventory. It is a 22-item simple questionnaire, again on 5-point Likert scale. All these are simple Likert scales. These are not clinically validated, measured, and labeling kind of things. These are checklists. Use them as checklists so that you can reach out. It has 3 theoretical components of burnout syndrome. One is exhaustion. I am tired of this job. For that, there might be questions. Depersonalization, which means I feel that I am not connected with that patient. So you are not involved. Or sometimes you might also feel the third component of burnout where you say, I deal very effectively with the problem of my patients, but maza nahi aa raha. So which means you are able to succeed, but that work is not giving you fun. Then briefly, Copenhagen burnout inventory is there. It is also similar kind of thing, which helps you identify fatigue and exhaustion, precursors to burnout. Then there is something called secondary traumatic stress scale. This is a 17-point scale, which is to measure avoidance, arousal symptoms, and all these things. Stress ka trauma ke wajah se ya upar wala scale use karo ya niche wala use karo. Burnout ke liye bhi there are 2 scales. And the last thing which is mentioned there is professional quality of life scale. This I will highly recommend. If you are a professional, please, it is available online, download and see if you are able to feel that in your job. It was developed to measure both negative and positive effects of working with those having traumatic stress. And it has 3 components. One is satisfaction. So with respect to your job, are you feeling satisfaction? With respect to job, are you feeling burnout? With respect to your job, are you feeling compassion fatigue? Compassion means taking care of people, I feel burnout. So these are some of the self-care do's and don'ts that I suggest to people. And I hope you are doing plenty of these. If not, maybe you can have a handout or you can take a screenshot of this on your mobile or laptop, wherever you're doing. So one of the important self-care doses, self-monitoring and self-check. And second is reaching out to people, colleagues, family, friends. Am I getting a bit agitated nowadays? Ask on a very casual note. If people say yes, no, you need to have trust on them. Sometimes your friends and family are able to see that you are stressed more than you yourself. Because you are the frog in the water, you will not be able to notice the temperature. But people outside will be able to. So have a safety net around who can help you out. Working in teams. So sometimes you can have a pact with a colleague or a professional saying that if I have issue, please tell me. If you have issue, I will tell you. One important thing that I use in my professional practice is brief relaxation and stress management breaks. Of course, I am working by myself, but what I have learned is mindfulness based breathing techniques, sometimes progressive muscle relaxation, sometimes simply saying that I will just walk out for 5 minutes and come back. So once every 2 hours, I have to take a break. Even if I am in a client consultation, I give them 2 minutes, 10 minutes break, say have a coffee and come back. We'll continue after this. So what happens is the glass never overflows. You are able to manage that stress. So what works for you, you will have to figure out. One more way is regular peer consultation and supervision. So if you are in an organization, maybe you have case presentations and all these things where you will be given this advice. In my case, I have to reach out to people outside and try to have this whenever I need to consult for clinical supervision. Time out for basic body care and refreshment. This is something I enjoy very much and I recommend very much. So go for a massage. Right now it might not be feasible, but once it happens, it can be. And I have a personal goal where I say every month on this day, I will go to a restaurant for a good continental meal or Chinese meal or somewhere where I will reward myself. Where I'm not talking shop, I'm not talking about clients, I am only talking about me that one day. Then you will have to be, you have chosen a profile or a profession which is constantly evolving and constantly adapting to new practices. So you need to seek out new information and seek out new training professionals who can train you. There are master classes happening throughout, and of late I have noticed that people are teaching learning disability online also. Unfortunately, you can do a presentation, but in-person training is what you will need if you want to take that profile. Same with most profiles, you will need in-person training. So try to see whether you can do. And also identify your anxieties. Try to find out what kind of talk are you doing with yourself. Are you, subah uthe ke, I am useless here. I am not able to do anything. Use this language for 30 days. By the month end, you will start feeling useless. Or saying that in this weather, I cannot work. In this weather, I cannot work. By the month end or 2 months, your body will adapt saying that this person is not able to work. This person does not want to work in this weather. Ya to isko bahut thandi de do ya bahut garmi de do. So it will be a psychosomatic effect on you. So what you're talking to yourself is also very essential. You need to be patient with yourself. You need to be hopeful that things will change. You are trying to give hope to clients. But are you trying to give hope to yourself? You are trying to be patient with the client, but are you patient with yourself? You are tolerant with the client when they misbehave, but are you tolerant with yourself? So unless you practice all this with yourself, you cannot share this with clients. Some don'ts. Till now we talked about what you should do. These are some things what you shouldn't do. You should not work too long without checking in with other people. What happens is, if you are fully absorbed and you are working in an environment which produces anxiety, if you don't reach out, you will not be able to do dissipation of this. In my case, people like those who work by themselves, they need to understand that they need to have mandated breaks. In my case, as I mentioned earlier, every 2 hours I take a break, whether I work or not. And this is something I have mandated into my work life also. Don't do this, working around the clock. You are a rehabilitation professional. You are not a soldier who is trained to do that. So as a rehabilitation professional, you work best when you take rest between two activities. Feeling that you're not doing enough. If something like this happens to you, what you have to understand is, my self-talk is changing. Can I paraphrase it, or can I reach out to somebody to change this? And suddenly, if you are feeling that I need one more cup of coffee, I need one more cup of tea, thoda sweet kahunga. Sugar craving is also happens when your mood is low. So if this is some pattern which is happening to you, try to understand that I will have to monitor this. And the last bit, engaging in self-talk and attitudinal obstacles for self-care. Like if you are using this kind of statements, I would be selfish to take time to rest. I should not be doing this. It is a wrong way of trying to do that job. Others are working around the clock, so should I. Others might have more capacity or others might have more tolerance. If I'm not able to, I will take rest. I will intimate why I am taking rest. The need of survivors are more important than the need of helpers, which means the need of parent is more important than the need of me. Need of parent is important, the need of the client is important, but so is your need. It's like if an aircraft is crashing, the first mask is put on the adult, not the child. Because if the adult is breathing, the child can be taken care. So for your clients, if your mental health is okay, you can take care of them. I can contribute most by working all the time. If this commentary is happening to you, which means you are not very efficient in doing the work. This is also a way in which it communicates to you. And sometimes people say, only I can do. Mere koi karna padega, koi aur nahi karega. If this is also happening, it will also lead to too much stress, and overall it might lead to burnout. We have talked about what works, what does not work, but what is it that you should overall look at? There are a variety of self-care practices. What you need to do is, you need to bring awareness, what works for me and what worked previously, what will not work right now. You need to find a balance between play and work. And if you get a job of 1 lakh rupees where you have to every day travel for 4 hours, would you take that job? In my case, I decided 15 years back, I will not take that job. So I decided to lower my expenses instead of trying to get a higher job. Then with respect to your physical health, are you feeling good about it? Do you get opportunity to stretch yourself? Do you feel energetic after the job finishes? Maybe a bit lethargic, but okay, I did a bit of productive work. Or once you go home, you just fall flat. For some people, their self-care practices may be around social support and spirituality. How much they are able to contribute, how they feel connected with the community. And if they don't feel connected with the community, money does not matter to them. And often overlooked thing, financial health. This is something I constantly tell a lot of professionals who are coming into this field, that don't come into this field thinking that you'll make money like an MBA. Come into this field because you want to work. And second, money will come, but not by doing JOB. You might have to take more risks. And what you have to understand is, what is your expense, what is your income, and can I build asset on the side so that even if I don't like a job for 6 months, if I leave, I still have something to take care. Most people are stuck in their job only because they don't have money to take care of them when they leave their job. And as soon as the month end comes, they get 50,000, 60,000 check and they buy an iPhone, they buy a laptop, or they buy a new bike with loan. And what is happening is they want to leave the job, but they are also committing financial crime by taking out loans on new material things, thinking that it will make them happy. So your financial health is also something you need to focus on. What this job is giving me and what it is taking away from me. Just trying to conclude, what I would say is, there are many ways in which you will feel stressed. And you need to identify through various means why you are feeling stressed or how you can overcome stress. But what you have to understand is, as a rehabilitation professional, your work is both complex and it is challenging. Therefore, you need to have a self-care strategy that will be multifaceted and will also be in a way in which it can be practiced in your normal day-to-day life. And if you are feeling stressed for more than 2 to 3 weeks, please reach out to a mental health professional. We already have a Kiran helpline within our system. So dial there. Some psychologist will be talking to you. On that day, if they are not able to help, they will help the other day. Otherwise, we also have suicide prevention helplines. We also have other ways through which we are reaching out to professionals, and we will be doing all those activities. So I had plenty of references. I just gave some references. What we have covered so far, just trying to catch up. We try to identify what can be occupational hazards for a rehabilitation professional. What are the vulnerable symptoms and other things, and how to identify when we face burnout and these kind of things, and what increases the vulnerability of a professional, what could be the potential causes of it. We also try to identify signs of stress. We discussed about how to protect ourselves and how to implement self-care. We also try to identify what are the do's and don'ts of various aspects. What I want you to understand is, we are constantly evolved in a profession where we do assessment, we do diagnosis, we do treatment, we do management for both individuals, couples, families, groups. But we are prone to compassion fatigue. We are prone to professional isolation. We are prone to demands of our practice. We need to find a way through which we can balance both personal and professional life. And so in the current pressing situation, taking care of your emotional and mental well-being much more than another or weekly to-do list. It should be a habit that is done as a default daily activity. Since our profession is mostly neglected, it has to come to forefront, not just for our clients, for ourselves also, for our families also. Developing good self-care will be one of the best ways to investment in your education, in your jobs. Self-care fundamentally different than what we might call self-indulgence is different to self-care. I'm not talking about having lavish. I'm talking about basic self-care, so that you're able to be an efficient tool to provide services to your, and you're able to do the job on a regular, consistent. With this, I would like to conclude on this. Queries and doubts from clients. So any information you want to ask, please share with me. I hope I was audible in between. At a couple of places we had audio things, but I thank you for the patience. And thank you, Dr. Rajni, for identifying and giving me this opportunity to share my experience in this topic. Now I hand it over back to you. Please carry it forward.
Thank you, sir. And it was a very engrossed webinar, sir. And thank you to each and every participant who are connected with us with a lot of patience. You make us deliver more with professional expertise. To summarize about Dr. Ravindra sir's webinar, sir has explained about the changing standards, professional isolation, which is very much in need and everybody has to notice it, and healthy stress, which is known as eustress, and professional errors, which are also common, which was very much highlighted about that, and admiring fellow professionals and seeking help during crisis and noticing them while professional colleague is in stress. This is also very much in need because every professional is also having a support of another professional. It's definitely a very much good input you have given, sir, and wonderfully expressed about stigma among professionals, which they do not accept that, yes, I do have stress, but how to reach out, removing the social stigma. That is very much explained very well, sir. Thank you for providing self-assessments and self-care and do's and don'ts. And you have also enlightened about the positive affirmations, which are very much useful to all of us, sir. And I thank you for your time, sir. I would like to give opportunity to the participants. If they have any questions, kindly unmute and you can ask your question. Sir, I could read out the chat. Everybody saying that's a good webinar and the questions, roadmap of successful inclusion of children with disability in the classroom, and they appreciated your webinar, sir. And
so I am very thankful that people are able to gain from my insight, but still if some people have issues, during the presentation my phone number was mentioned there, and if somebody wants to reach out, Dr. Rajni, is it okay to share my phone number if somebody wants to reach out?
Yes, sir. I think they can also connect with me as well. I'll share your number as well, sir.
Okay. You can share the number. It's good. Or simply on Google type Dr. Ravindra Mindcrafts, you will get my details. You can reach out to me that way also.
Sir, since I do not find anybody trying to ask any questions, I think it was very much well explained. So everybody is engrossed and they really enjoyed the session. I could see the participant demographic data. The starting of the webinar started with 2 or 3 participants, and the seriousness about the rehabilitation professionals and whoever are very much serious, they were all through they have stayed all through till now. And I humbly thank everybody. And now the feedback form will be uploaded. Before that, I request our Rakesh Mahapatra sir, occupational therapist, to kindly give vote of thanks for the webinar. I hand over it to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, all of you. Myself, Rakesh Mahapatra, lecturer occupational therapy, CRC Sikkim. Here we come to the end of this today's webinar on topic rehabilitation professional self-care during COVID-19 times. It gives me the immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks to all the dignitaries present over here. I'd like to thank Patron Dr. Himanshu Das sir, Director, National Institute for the Empowerment of Persons with Visual Disability, that is NIE-EVD Dehradun, who always inspire and guide us to conduct this type of webinar. Thank you, sir, for your unconditional support. I express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Ravindra Valivada sir, rehabilitation psychologist, Director, Mindcraft, Secunderabad, Telangana State, for enlightening us about the self-care skills for rehabilitation professionals during this pandemic time. What occupational hazards rehabilitation professional face and how to manage anxiety, stress, etc. Really, it was a very wonderful section. Once again, thank you, sir, in this COVID time, taking your time out and being here with us and guiding us about this important area during this critical situation. Now, I would like to thank our resident doctor, Ms. M. Irish Madam, for supporting and guiding to conduct this type of webinar. Thank you, ma'am. Now, I'd like to thank Dr. Tenali ma'am, Assistant Professor, Clinical Psychology, and Vidyabhushan sir, Lecturer, Physiotherapy, for her hard work in arranging this webinar and smoothly coordinating it. Also, I'd like to thank all the staff members of CRC Sikkim for their kind cooperation for making this webinar very much successful. Now last, not the least, I would like to thank all the students, professionals, staff NIE PVD, CRC Gorakhpur, CRC Sundarnagar, other CRC staffs and everyone who are here with us today and made this program very much successful. I am sure you all will implement what our speakers are guided us in today's webinar. Once again, thank you all of you. If you need any types of assistance in terms of realization, you all can contact our CRC Sikkim. And also, if you feel any anxiety, stress, depression, or any other psychological issues, you all can contact Mental Health Realization Helpline number Kiran, launched by Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India, 24/7 toll-free number, that is 180059990019. I repeat, 180059990019. Thank you.
Thank you, one and all. And we end the session now. With the permission of Director Sir and with the permission of our respected research coordinator, resident coordinator, ma'am, I would like to end the session.